Those of you who are standing, there's one seat there, there's one seat there, there's one seat there. But if you want an easy getaway, stay standing. Okay? My name is Christian Toksvig. I'm going to be talking to you about fair play in social media. And this is my Twitter handle, and if you want to follow me or contact me after the presentation. It's really good to be at the Digital Marketing Show. I know it's a chaotic event and there's people walking back and forth, but I will try to focus on you in this room, and I hope you'll try to focus on me and cut out the surrounding noise that we've got here. I've really got two messages for you today. I know you're going to take in a lot of stuff, and behavioral scientists say that people can only remember 5 things in one day. So I'm going to ask to take 2 of those things, and you can use the other 3 on something else. The first thing I'd like you to remember from this talk is that we live in a visual world, and we are all a photographer, a videographer, and a content creator. Okay, and here I'm not really just talking to you as marketers or agency people or whatever you do in your job. I'm talking to you also as individuals, because I know you all have a smartphone in your pocket and a Facebook account and stuff like that, and we're going to get back to that. That's the first thing I'd like you to remember. The second thing I'd like you to remember is that you all have rights in that content that you are creating. And the rights that you have and that all content creators have are not being protected well at the moment. So that's the 2 things that you should take away from this talk if you don't take anything else away. Okay. I'd like to spend a few more minutes just providing a little bit more background on why I'm talking about this to you and who the hell am I anyway. Getty Images, just a quick show of hands, who's familiar with Getty Images here in the audience? Okay, that's a lot. That's about half. Okay, so Getty Images, we are a business-to-business marketplace for digital content. So all the content that is created by news organizations, by creative photographers, the advertising content that you'll see on that poster over there and stuff like that, we are the marketplace for the exchange of that. So we have hundreds of thousands of individual photographers putting their content on our platform for sale to millions of customers, and they can be agencies, they can be newspapers, websites, and they can be corporate communications departments and so on. So we represent about 60 or 70 million photos, videos, pieces of music, things like that. And just to give you a quick idea of what our content looks like and where it ends up being used, I'm going to show you a short video. This video is around 1.5 minutes. And it shows you basically what we do. And I'm going to see if I can get the mouse and start the video here. Oh. Am I on it? Should be some music coming. We get some music. Can Mr. Techie get us some music? Oops. What? The technology's great when it works. It's great when it works. I don't think I'll roll the rest of that video when we haven't got the sound. I hope you get the idea. I will see if I can move on. Now everything has just gone. Oh, it's still running. Apologies for that. Okay, so with a little bit of help from my friends, we managed it. Let's see if we can change the slides. There we go. So that's my world, the world of visual content. I live in that visual world, and pictures and video are our business at Getty Images. But I'm not a photographer, and that's going to become very clear to you later on. I run the business development team at Getty Images, so we are responsible for acquisitions and strategy and basically where our business is going to go next. So I spend quite a lot of my time looking into the future, trying to make sense of where the world of digital media is going. And it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody that the technology is disrupting our industry just as it's disrupting most other industries. So like I said, I'll be talking about how we're becoming more visual, and we're all photographers, and how a photograph is no longer something we do as a keepsake. We don't take pictures to keep them in a box, we take them to share what we're doing right now. And we all do this as humans, not just as professionals. And so how all that sharing of photos with each other is actually creating a copyright minefield for all the parties that are involved, both the content creators and the brands and the advertisers and the publishers. So that's the problem I'm going to highlight to you. This thing doesn't work, Mr. Techie, if you're still here. Okay, he's not here. So let's put on our future vision goggles and jump in and look at how the world's becoming more visual. The first reason the world's becoming more visual is, not surprisingly, that it contains a lot more cameras than it ever did before. This slide basically shows you the explosion in smartphone adoption. Smartphones, this isn't working, buddy. Thank you. Smartphones are the blue line on this map, and they went nuts about 2009. And the yellow line is total shipments of regular cameras. So today there are, it's not working. Today there are about 2.5 billion smartphones in the world and about 800 million tablets, and they all have cameras inside. So that's sort of the foundation for the visual world. And because the camera is in everybody's pocket, not surprisingly, we take a shed load of photos. So this slide shows you the development in the number of photos taken per year since the invention of photography in 1826, when the number very predictably was 0, until 2011, which is the latest year for which we have a number, where the number was 380 billion. That's a lot of zeros. And the light blue line is an interesting one, which basically shows you what happened to analog photos in the same period. The analog photos, I don't know if many of the younger crowd here that knows what that is, but those are the ones with celluloid film that had to be taken to a shop and developed. Those have gone down. And so this is an exponential development that's taking place and will continue to take place at this same clip. If we had the number for 2013, it would be in the trillions. So it's so easy to take and share photos, which means they're no longer a keepsake. They're no longer that precious. You know, they are now the way we participate in life, the way we participate in an event here and now. It's common to meet a stranger on a train and you maybe show, this is my son, or this is me at the Halloween party. If you had done that 10 years ago and taken out your big photo album and said, hey, let me show you my photo album. Look, this is me in the school. That would have been really strange 10 years ago. So we're sharing our lives much more with our friends and strangers. And a great example of this is this app called Snapchat. How many in here have heard of Snapchat? Oh, that's a big number. Great. How many are using Snapchat? Almost the same number. Okay, so Snapchat is a photo sharing app that has the ability to, like Instagram, send photos out to your followers or to one particular person. The only thing that's sort of unique about Snapchat is that the photo disappears 10 seconds after being opened. So you can send something and not worry about the consequences because the picture will self-destruct in 10 seconds. And that really shows you it's about the connection. It's the sharing the here and now. It's not about keeping a memory forever. So of course, many of the images we share and take, they end up on these popular photo sharing platforms. And I just want to give you a bit of scale again on how many images are going up on these various platforms. So how many in here have a Flickr account? 5 people. How many have an Instagram account? That's about half, okay. And Snapchat we've done, and I'm not even going to bother asking about Facebook. And there's Getty Images. We think we have a lot of content. Like I said, we upload about 50,000 images to our platform every day, which we think we're doing a quite good job. But of course, we're completely dwarfed next to Flickr, which uploads 1.5 million images every day. Flickr, again, is way behind Instagram, which uploads about 55 million images every day. And there's a huge jump up to Facebook, which gets 350 million images sent and uploaded onto Facebook every single day. And I recently had to change this slide because the big gorilla, in fact, is now Snapchat. Snapchat gets 400 million images sent every day. Now, they don't get stored like they do on the others, but it just gives you an idea of the huge scale. The volumes are truly astounding. And this is why Snapchat only last week or the week before last turned down a $3 billion cash offer from Facebook for buying that company. So think about it. If somebody came to you and offered you $3 billion for anything, wouldn't you just say, deal, done, got it? Nope, not these guys. They have either balls of steel or cotton wool in their heads. Time will show. Okay, so you get it. There are a lot of photos in the world. To give you an idea of what a typical day's upload to Flickr looks like, just for fun, I took this picture and brought it in. Some artist in the Netherlands, he printed out every single picture that was uploaded to Flickr in one day and put it in a room. And that's what it looks like. That's only like a third of it. I hope he had a very good color printer for that project. Right. This is another way of showing how big Facebook is in terms of pictures. You got Flickr down there as a sort of scale, and then under the microscope you can see Instagram and the Library of Congress, which is the library in America that has all the books ever published in that country. Right. So what? Most pictures uploaded to Facebook, aren't they just awful and tacky with no intrinsic value beyond the memories they represent to the people who took them? Well, these are my Facebook pictures, and as I told you before, I am not a photographer, right? And I wasn't very good at taking pictures. But these photos could, of course, not be licensed for even 10 cents. I do realize that. I'm not planning on a career change. But when they are aggregated into the billions, which is done on these photo sharing services we're talking about, then suddenly my bad party photos, they have a value because they drive traffic. And traffic is eyeballs, and eyeballs is advertising revenue, and suddenly you can make a business out of it. And of course, I'm not just sharing my own work, or my oeuvre, as I like to call it. I am also sharing articles from Wired magazine, and I'm sharing New York Times stuff. Okay, so all this stuff is copyrighted material. I have the copyright in my own pictures, but I don't have the copyright in that picture or that picture. So suddenly, I'm no longer just a photo sharer. I'm actually a publisher who's generating revenue. And that's why the good old days where publishing was the province of the newspapers and the television stations, of course, are now gone. Anyone with a laptop sitting on a park bench like this guy is doing, who has a smartphone or whatever, can connect and be a publisher. And of course, people do. People are creating blogs to their heart's content, and you can have your own website if you want, and so on. And there's a fantastic mass of wonderful creativity that's playing out online. The only issue is that all these new publishers, they are largely unaware of copyright. They don't know what rights they have. They don't know how to get copyright. They don't know how to protect their own copyright. And you know, if you're a blogger on Tumblr or WordPress, you're going to have a small and fragmented audience. And it's not you who's making the money. It's the platform that's making the money. As you know, Tumblr was sold for $1 billion last year, or this year even, to Yahoo. And they were sold on the back of a lot of blogs containing copyrighted content. And this, of course, is a problem for brands too. So if you here in this room, some of you I'm sure are working in advertising or in marketing departments of big brands, you're going to be thinking, hey, can we actually use Tumblr? Can we put ads on Tumblr? You're in a gray area, my friends, you know? Because you are creating value, you're creating advertising revenue out of content that may or may not be authorized. Okay, so this is where we end up. This is the world of the right click, and this is an example that I put together that's very easy, which we all do every day. Here's some photos of Adele from the Getty Images website. They are very small here. We have a customer called Zimbio, and they are creating a lot of celebrity photo galleries and so on. Their users see this photo, and they think, oh, I love that photo. I'm going to take it and put it on YouTube, I'm going to put it on my Pinterest board, and I'm going to put it on Last.fm. So, you know, I wish I could say this use was harmless, but it really is not. It's not the same as just tearing a photo out of a magazine and putting it on your fridge door, because it stays there and no one can share it. But when you put it on the big interwebs, then suddenly it can be shared and used and copied endlessly everywhere. So, and remember, social media is the majority of all web engagement. So all the eyeballs going onto the web, like 40% are going onto social media. And so this is a very, very big problem potentially. Right, especially if you are a content owner or a copyright owner like a photographer. You can see a photo you took go completely viral and you get zero. If you are a sharing platform like Tumblr or Pinterest, it prevents you from having a business. Pinterest, revenue, it's not zero, but it's close. Tumblr, revenue, zero. Why? Because they can't legally use the big resource they have in all that content. Finally, if you're a brand, you want to place advertising on a social media platform, you got to think very carefully about it. There's a reason brands don't want to advertise on Pirate Bay, for example, you know, the illegal file sharing service. You don't want your brand associated with that activity. That's a bit sort of a more harsh example, but I mean, from a copyright perspective, you know, Tumblr could be considered a similar thing. So, this is not ideal. It's not ideal for any stakeholder. It's not ideal for the publisher, the platform, the advertiser, the photographer, or the content owner. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Well, before I present what I think the solution is, because we do have one, I want to just take you into an example that very well illustrates what I'm talking about. If you remember the good old days, well, the bad old days actually of YouTube, when YouTube first started, it was seen as a den of iniquity because there was copyrighted content on there. You could upload whole movies, you could watch music videos, you could watch TV shows on YouTube. As a user, it was great. But the Motion Picture Association of America and the music industry, they hated YouTube. They absolutely hated YouTube. And so Google, when they bought YouTube, they figured out, well, this isn't going to work. We have to find a way that works for the copyright owners. Otherwise, we're going to get shut down or we're going to get bogged down with endless copyright issues. So they created something called Content ID. Content ID is basically a registry where if you own a copyright of some sort, you can upload that into the registry, and it sits behind YouTube. You can't see it, but it's there. And then every time a user uploads a piece of content to YouTube, it checks that against the registry. If it is copyrighted, then YouTube asks the rightful owner of that copyright, hey, somebody just uploaded your Beyonce video. What do you want to do? Do you want to take it down? Do you want to just leave it? Or do you want to monetize it so that the ads that are generated by that clip will then go to you as Universal Music or whoever is Beyonce's agency? So that basically turned the situation around 100%. What has happened? The Motion Picture Association, the studios, the music industry, they love YouTube. They've got channels on YouTube, and the more you watch their shows from BBC and NBC and all those big names in entertainment, the more money they make and the happier they are. Complete change of fortunes for YouTube as well, which is now, I think we will all agree, the gold standard for online video and will be, I think, the next, let's say, the thing that will replace television. That's my private opinion. So, and the music industry has obviously started supporting things like Spotify, where you can listen for free, but there's payment through advertising. So what is common to all these solutions is that they allow users to do what users like to do, and that is share, listen, watch for free without worrying about things. So the successful solutions are the ones that solve all the boring stuff in the background, all the legals, the commercials, the rights, and all that. Who wants to deal with that? Leave that to people like us. So it seems like we need a solution. We've found out that users don't actually want to own content. They don't really care. They just want to be able to access it. And secondly, like I said, the Facebooks and the Tumblrs and so on, they have to be part of the solution because otherwise their business can't grow. Thirdly, if you are a publisher, somebody who has a blog, wouldn't you like to access the better content, the nice content, instead of just the, content like the stuff, the pictures I take? Yeah, if you could, it'd be great, wouldn't it? And finally, if you are an advertiser, well, you would like to know that the environment you're going into is one that is safe and legal and absolutely above board in every way. So, can we achieve fair play in social media? Yes, we can. And we've got a solution which works for photography, which Getty Images has developed and which we're very excited about, and we want to try to roll out to as many platforms as possible. And this is not something we are doing only for our own sake. Of course, we can see a business opportunity in this, but it's also something that we can do for the sake of all the stakeholders that I just mentioned. It's called PicScout licensing. So what is hell is PicScout licensing? PicScout is a crawler that crawls the web and finds copyrighted photos. So that's the first thing you have to do. You have to crawl a platform and find the content. That's the first step. We also made a registry, like YouTube had Content ID. We created a registry. It has a very unsexy name. It's called Image IRC. I hope we come up with a better one. But it's basically a registry database of all the professional content in the world. Note that I said the professional content. It's not all the Facebook pictures and the Instagram pictures because they are not valuable enough in their own individual right. That's the second step. Once an image has been found and identified, it can be licensed retroactively. So you may be asking yourself, what's going on here? So let me give you an example. If you publish a piece of content to Tumblr, which is that picture of the chess pieces that I had before, that picture belongs to someone. PicScout will find it. It will identify it and say, aha, that belongs to this person, and it will license it to Tumblr. So Tumblr will pay for the license. And that's the fourth point of my little puzzle here. It's the payment. The payment will be in the form of an advertising revenue share. It will be a traditional invoice payment, or it will be some other kind of payment. But this is a system that allows copyrighted content to be found all over the web and be identified, licensed, and paid for. Huge, huge leap, in my humble opinion, for the protection of copyright online and for all these stakeholders that we talked about. So we think we've got a solution, and I want to show you how it works in practice, in real life, because we've just done the first of what we hope will be many deals with a major social media platform, namely Pinterest. And I'm sure a lot of you in here, quick show of hands, how many have a Pinterest account? That is about 1/3. Yeah, so Pinterest is a very fast-growing social media platform, and it's all about images, because it's basically sharing images and pinning them to your wall. So we've done a deal. We crawled Pinterest using PicScout, the crawler that I mentioned before. We found out that 4% of all the content on Pinterest is from Getty Images. We're like, whoa, 4%, that's a lot. And you're not paying any copyright. Bad Pinterest. That's how we started out. Of course, that's not how you end up doing a good deal with somebody by coming in and raising your finger at them. Pinterest had a problem. They have a lot of photos, but they have no captions, no metadata, because people are just taking the photo and slamming it on the pin board. So Pinterest doesn't know what's in the picture. Only we can see what's in the picture. That's 2 scallops. And Pinterest doesn't know that. So we found a way to reattach all the captions and what's called the metadata, the descriptors of the image, from Getty Images into Pinterest. And suddenly Pinterest has an opportunity to put advertising around that picture because they know what's in that picture. And they're willing to pay for that because they need a business. So suddenly you go, hey, here's a win-win for both parties. So we get paid. The photographer who took that picture gets paid. The chef who cooked those 2 scallops gets paid. Everybody gets paid. Okay, so it means that, and we, by the way, Getty Images, we get a link back to our site, so if somebody wants to license that picture, they come to us. So that's a way that we can also potentially get some leads out of that. So, example of how to, without disturbing the users, we can legitimize social media for all the uses that they want to do. So that's where we think we are talking about when we talk about the future and the fair play in social media. So I hope I've given you a quick look into a world that not many of us perhaps think about every day, but that's quite important for the future success of social media and marketing in general. And just to remind you, 2 things. The world's becoming more visual. We're all content creators. And secondly, there's a big problem with copyright in social media, but we have a solution. So with that, I thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.